Right now, our React component, it does a pretty fine job at displaying stuff to the screen, but that doesn't exactly make for a useful application. Ideally, we'd also be able to get information from the user via button clicks or form fields. In this video, we're going to start working on our updated component that's going to ask the user for their name via an input field. So the user can type their name in, click the button, and when they do, instead of saying hello, whatever the current value of name is, it's going to say hello and then whatever they typed in the input field. So to kick things off, we're going to make a new form inside of our React component, and we're going to add an onSubmit handler so we can capture when the form is submitted. To kick things off, below the paragraph, I'm going to create our form tag, and inside of it, we're just going to add two elements, an input and a button. The input is going to have two attributes provided, a type, which is equal to text, and then a custom attribute that's used by React called ref. And ref lets us give a name to an element that we want to access later. And in this case, we want to access this input field so we can get the value from it. And all we have to do is set it equal to something, in this case, like name. All right, so we have our form and we have our input. The last thing to do is create our button using the button tag. And for the text for this button, all I'm going to do is have set name print to the screen. Now we're almost done, only submitting the form doesn't actually do anything. In order to do that, we're going to use a built-in attribute called onSubmit. OnSubmit is really awesome. It's going to capture every time your form is submitted, and we can set it equal to a JavaScript expression using opening and closing curly braces. And this attribute onSubmit, it expects a function to be passed to it, and that function gets called once the form has been submitted. Now currently we don't have one, so we're going to go ahead and create one. So far, we've only created the render and get default props methods, and those both come with React. They get called automatically by the library. This new function we're going to create, I'm going to call onButtonClick, and this is only going to get fired by our code. I'm going to create a function. Since it's an event handler, it gets passed the event object, and this event object isn't special. It's the same one you should be familiar with if you've ever used jQuery or if you've used regular JavaScript event handlers. And since it's a form, we're going to kick things off by calling e.preventDefault. And this is going to prevent the form from submitting and causing a page refresh. Since we're working with React, we want to use single page application ideas. And in this case, one of them is to not have the browser completely refresh the app. Now that we have our function in place, we still have to pass it into onSubmit, and we can do that by accessing it via this.onButtonClick. All right, we're almost there. We have our form created, and when someone submits the form, it's actually going to fire this function. The only thing left for this video is to get the value they typed in, and we're going to use alert to show it in the browser. In the next video, we'll finish things up. So what I'm going to do is use the ref we created to fetch the value. And in this case, we're going to set name equal to this.refs. Then the refs is an object, and we have a name attribute on it. So this.refs.name. And this is equal to the browser node. So this represents the HTML element, and to get the value off of it, we have to use .value. Now, all I'm going to do is alert name to the screen, save the file, and we can go ahead and test out our application. I'm going to run node server from the terminal to fire up my Express server on port 3000. In the browser, I'm going to navigate over to localhost 3000, and you can see Hello Andrew prints to the screen. Inside of our input box, I'm going to type Jen. I'm going to click set name, and you can see that Jen prints to the screen. And this is awesome. We now have a form, and we can listen for user interaction. So when someone types a name, like Mike, and hits enter, Mike prints to the screen. Now the next step is to make the app more useful. Alerting data to the screen is not what real React apps do. And this course is all about creating real-world examples, even if they're simple in the beginning. So in the next video, we're going to update the name value that shows here to be whatever the user submitted. And we're going to do that via state. That's it for this video. A quick recap. We created a form just like you would create a form in any other language. It's basic HTML with two quirks. One, we have an onSubmit attribute which is built into React, and it expects a function to get passed to it. Two, we're using the React ref attribute to save a reference to our input field. This lets us access it later anywhere in our code. In this case, we access the element and we access its value property so we can get whatever's displayed to the screen. We also created our onButtonClick callback, calling e.preventDefault, which prevents a full browser reload when a form gets submitted. For now, it doesn't update what's viewed in the browser, so hello Andrew still prints even though we typed Mike, but in the next video we'll be doing that, so stay tuned. I look forward to seeing you soon.